before last to the Camp Pollock docent orientation. We did the online orientation, and then we went for the live tour, and oh, it was fantastic. It was splendid. And I've invited Kelly Hopkins here from the Sac Valley Conservancy to give us a little bit of an overview of Camp Pollock. What we're going to do is, what I'm going to do right now is have everybody put themselves on mute. And then let me just let Jennifer in here. So if everybody can go on mute, and then as Kelly is giving her presentation, if a question comes into your mind, you can put it in the chat, or you can save it till the end, and then we'll have a Q&A after the end of Kelly's presentation, since there's you know, we don't want to be interrupting. So if everybody wants to go ahead and put themselves on mute, and then Kelly, I'm going to make it so that you can share the screen, and I'm going to pass it over to you without further ado, Kelly Hopkins. Thank you.
So my name's Kelly Hopkins, and I'm the executive director for the Sacramento Valley Conservancy. And I'm obviously working from home these days, and I have a wee one who didn't nap, and so he's napping now. So that's what's happening under this blanket. His name's Caden, and he's 2.5. But I'm not going to let that distract me from all of you. So Sacramento Valley Conservancy is an accredited land trust nonprofit, and I recognize a few names on this Zoom meeting, which is exciting. So I know some of you are familiar with the work that we're doing, but as an accredited land trust, our mission is to protect open space in the greater Sacramento area. So we work from the Buttes, Sutter Buttes, down to the Delta, and from the foothills, basically Sacramento County line at Deer Creek Hills Preserve, all the way into Yolo County. And we hold more than 50 properties with conservation easements. And those are to protect open space, critical habitat. Some of them are for farmland and ranch land and don't necessarily have additional habitat needs. Some of them are protected with something called the Williamson Act, but we hold conservation easements, we do restoration work, we sometimes work as preserve managers, and we work with a number of agencies. We do work cooperatively with developers because when they need to mitigate, they have to come to someone to hold the land. And so we're also a 501c3, and we manage Camp Pollock, which, if you're not familiar with Camp Pollock, it is located on the corner of North Cape Boulevard and Del Paso Boulevard, where 160 meets the river. And Camp Pollock was a former Boy Scout camp. It was managed by the Boy Scout camps from the 1920s until 2013, when they chose to sell it. Golden Empire Council chose to sell it, and Sac Valley Conservancy helped to facilitate that acquisition by the California State Lands Commission. So it is now owned by state lands. It is managed by Camp Pollock, and we have a long-term lease. We're committed there until like 2048 or something like that. Like when I'm not, he'll be taking care of it, maybe. I don't know. So we're committed to this space for a long term. It's open to the public every day of the week from sunrise to sunset. And there is no dedicated funding for Camp Pollock. It is not, we don't receive any public funding through the city or the county. All of the funds that we have for Camp Pollock, because there is no endowment, there is no conservation easement, our funding comes from renting the space and putting on our own events there, and our general funds that we raise through events like the Big Day of Giving. So a couple of goals for Camp Pollock. When we first took it over, it was not a safe place. The Boy Scouts had lost their permit in the lodge, and much like the field that you guys were working on, the our weeds were taller than me, and I'm 5'3". So it needed a lot of love. We converted the first acre to a native plant garden, and that is what we call our courtyard area. I'm going to pull up a map here to give you a glance. Let me see if I am savvy enough to share screen. More? No. I don't see share screen. More? No.
It should be at the green,
Oh, there. Thank you. Right in front of me. Okay, we'll play this one. Okay, so do you see this colorful map? Yes, wonderful. Okay, so this is a site plan that ICF put together for us. And this is Camp Pollock. So if you can see my little, do you see my little hand here? Perfect. This is the drive into Camp Pollock. This is the former trailer park called Riverdale. And so you come down this dirt road and it opens up to this 11 acres of open space that SVC manages. Now, all the land around Camp Pollock is managed by the Sacramento County Parks. Our parking lot is always free to access, and we do have free river access. But this first acre here was the first acre that was donated to the Boy Scouts by North Sacramento Land Company. And then the Lions Club built this lodge in the 1920s for the Scouts. And then the Pollock family donated the remaining 10 acres shortly thereafter. So the site plan that you're looking at today was put together for a grant proposal that Sac Valley Conservancy received through the Lower American River Conservancy Program, which is distributed by Wildlife Conservation Board. It was $167,000 to put in a mile of trail. So with that trail, more hardscaping, usually people visit the property and they stay in this first acre. They don't explore the rest. We did receive a grant from the Xerces Society to put in some plants here, actually. I don't know if you remember that, Angela, but yeah, that was years and years ago with Lucy Adams, maybe like 5-6 years. It was a long time ago. Anyways, so there's the native garden here, but our goal is to get the public to explore the rest of the place. So we have this mile of trail, and all this garden bed has recently been put in, but this entire area has no plantings. This area has no plantings. This is bare. This is bare. These are all going to be native plant gardens, all of this. So, and then this is like a main gathering area. The other thing that we've identified is that we have a good partnership with Elderberry Farms, but when we met with them on site and said, hey, we have these big plans and we want to put in this, we want to do some restoration work and we want to put in all these native plants, can you help us out? And they're like, yeah, we'll help you come up with plans. We love doing that kind of stuff. But you're going to have to propagate your own plants. We're like, wait, what? We can't just buy them from you? And they're like, no, we're not meeting the region's demand. We think that we're meeting maybe a third of the region's demand and we can't keep up with our own sales. You need to do your own here. And we're going to give you copies of our financials and we'll tell you all the things you need, but you're going to do it yourself. And so we said, okay, it's a little outside of our mission, but maybe we can make it work. And, financially, how is this going to work? And can we actually manage a native nursery without much dedicated staff? Because right now our costs at Camp Pollock are more than maxed out. We're in the red for many years and we still owe $250,000 on the lodge. So they said, do it. They said, you can make anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 per plant sale and you can do 2 a year. So like, wow, okay, cha-ching, that would be good. And then they said, they think it would help us bring more positive uses to the space. As is, we already serve Sierra Nevada Journeys has a partnership with us at CampPollock, and we bring more than 2,000 during a normal year, bring about 2,000 kids out, and they learn about habits and habitats, and they learn about the riparian zone in the river. And anyways, we think that by putting in the native nursery will, one, help offset our management costs, two, bring more positive uses, and provide native plants for our own plantings on the 50 other properties we're involved with. So we're going to go for it. So last year we put in for a TOT grant. That's the transient occupancy tax grant. And we didn't get it because they said it was a very good proposal and scored really high, but we didn't do a good job of communicating that when you look at our 990 and you look at our financial statements, our audit, it looks like we have a lot of money, but that's because those funds are dedicated as endowments for properties that we can't tap into that funding for CampPollock. Restricted funding, endowments, that's a big no-no. So they said, beautiful proposal, but it just doesn't look like you have a need. And we're like, are you kidding us? Like, we're losing $60,000 here a year. We have a need, please. So she said, you know what, if you apply again next year, we think you have a pretty good chance, which was good to hear, but we didn't get it this year. So there's a couple of other grants that we've recently put in for, one through REI and another that we're going to be putting in through the American River Parkway Foundation, which is actually a grant funded by Tykert. And we'll see where it goes. But our goal is to have the native nursery in place, start putting in some infrastructure that we own, start putting it in place this year so that we can start working towards a plant sale, maybe in the fall, if not the following year. So I do also want to share, we have some plans to put in like 15 interpretive panels. Sacramento has soil-borne farms where you can learn about plants and food. We have FEO Nature Center where you can learn about animals. We have Splash where you can learn about vernal pools. And we're going to have the Native American Center on the Sacramento River, but we don't for a watershed, a water city, a river city. We don't have a watershed education center, so we've kind of identified that we would like everything at CampPollock to kind of focus back on our rivers and create a watershed education center. So these are sample signs that I borrowed from Cat Public Radio's site, which if you've been to their garden, it is very cool, and these are all their signs. So they have these beautiful signs that talk about water swale or bioswales and wild bees and composting with worms, and these are available online if you need access to them. And you guys can find them for your own site. I don't know if you have plans to do interp panels eventually, but just beautiful signs. So we're hoping to get sponsors, like they got Elk Grove, Subaru, local sponsors to help us put in these signs, and we need to have these signs put in by next spring. So they are beautiful signs. So that's one thing. And then the other image I wanted to share is, let me see if I can share a different photo of the current space where we want to put the native garden, or I'm sorry, the native nursery propagation area. Not opening. Here we go. Sorry. We use Google Meet, so I'm not quite used to this.
You should be able just to switch your screen, and if not, you might stop share and then switch screens on your computer and then start the share again.
Amy, you're sounding like a pro.
I've learned a lot this year.
Oh, here we go. Perfect. Oh, there we go. Select, hold shift to multiple windows. Perfect. And I'm a millennial. I mean, thank God I can figure this out. Okay, you can see my picture. So this is the area where we would like to put in our propagation area. Tykert donated all this aggregate material, which was wonderful. And so just gravel here now. This was also just covered in weeds, and there was a big pile of decomposed granite. And anyways, it was kind of a mess. These buildings have also recently been rehabbed, and we're getting closer. So the two-story building here on the side here, we think will be converted to like our volunteer center, where you would like check in and that type of thing, and maybe have some tables in there. And then we have an old event tent that we'll use as a frame, and we'll put some sunshades on it, and irrigate, not drip irrigation, spray irrigation, to feed our native plants. So anyways, that's about it. But I would love to take your questions if you have some. I'm sorry.
Oh, Kelly, your baby is so cute. Oh my gosh. It's so cute.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
I love the presentation. So I loved it. I have a couple of questions, but does anybody have any questions first? Let's see what's in the chat. We've got, let's see.
I think it's just all habitat.
Yes, it would be amazing. And you can unmute yourself and say this, Heather. And Erica, it is going to be amazing, and it would be great to have a native plant nursery here, and it would help to change the image of the area, because the area right now has a bad kind of a rep from the years after the Boy Scouts. One of my questions that I had was, do you know what's going on with the Riverdale? I saw that they had taken up all of the pads and the infrastructure for the RV park.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
at the entrance.
So 2 years
oh my
ago,
gosh.
And actually, so oops, am I frozen? Sorry.
No.
So 2 years ago, they basically had everyone move out. My understanding is they are trying to get permits from the city to put in all new units. I don't know if that is going to be successful.
Could you clarify who they is? Is they the state, the county, or the private property owners?
Private property owners. Yes, the private property owners. Yes.
I don't think they'll be able to get a permit.
I don't think so either. Although they're continuing to work. And if I think you may have been at our Treasures of the Valley 2 years ago, not last year, and the day of our Treasures of the Valley event, all these people were in our lodge, folks from Sac Tree Foundation, and a friend of mine from Davie, Al Fenkner, and city officials, and just people who were asking, hey, what happened to all the trees there? Why have all the trees on the riverbank been cut down? What's going on? I don't have answers. I haven't received any sort of notice that a development is, any sort of, because they can't build. We're in the floodplain, right?
Actually, worse than that, you're in the floodway.
We're in the floodway. Yes, you're right.
We're in the floodplain. You're in the floodway.
Yeah, we're in the floodway.
Which is worse.
So there's. I don't know. What I have maintained is that if they choose to sell, that we want to maintain good relationships with them, and we are a willing buyer, or we can help facilitate an acquisition if they're willing sellers. So that's.
Well, there's still an Urine Holding within the American River Parkway, so the county eventually would love to have that be part of the.
Right. Yeah, and according to the Parkway plan, it's a non-conforming use, and with all of the Lower American River Conservancy funding that's available now, it could very easily happen within a short amount of time. And I know Safeca is also interested in land in the area, and actively working on projects in the area. So
So could I ask you a question about the county and the American River Parkway Foundation?
Yes.
For those of us that live on, the low end of the American River, we have always felt very neglected by both the county and the American River Parkway Foundation and all of the organizations that like the nice part of the Parkway upriver,
Right.
but do not want to help us in the lower part for whatever reason. So has that attitude changed?
I have the same struggles.
Okay, so it
I've
hasn't.
had the same struggles for many years. Although I can say that Sac Valley Conservancy has had a very good relationship with Sac County Parks at Deer Creek Hills Preserve.
Yeah, I don't mean to speak bad of the county. It's just that,
Yeah.
because this part of the parkway is in the city limits,
Yeah.
it's surrounded by the city.
And it feels like no man's land. Yeah.
There's always been a struggle. The county thinks the city should be more involved, but
Yeah.
what the structure, the financing structure the county had come up with was to charge people in garden land in South Natomas that can't get to the river without paying for it, and
Right.
let people in Fair Oaks who have the boat.
Well, so what's interesting, and I don't like to remind the county of this too often, although I do get along really well with Director Bellis, and I do get her support when I need it.
We're just not a priority, and I think it's because of the challenges right now with the homeless as well.
Yeah. Yep.
It may change at some point if the county decides to get more serious like this.
Kelly was just,
The parking lot at Camp Pollock is owned by the county.
Okay.
interesting.
And what
Kelly
about
was
the
describing the cross-jurisdictional issues, because there's a lot of jurisdictions going on.
Nobody wants to take ownership.
land to the west of you, the old Urusha property? What's the status of that?
It is still owned by the Arusias. But if there's a situation where they become willing sellers, which may happen or may be happening, we're involved as much as we can be, and there are agencies that have identified funding sources to make that happen.
Yeah, I know Safeco, when I was with Safeco, was very involved in it, and we had a lot of strategies that never came to be. But anyway, okay, this is very interesting.
And then, of course, Heather, there are things that are probably in the works that that I can't talk about too. So,
Kelly, I'm sorry, Heather, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to get the land issue resolved, and then we can focus on.
I can say that the most beneficial thing for any area of the Parkway, and my friend Betsy Wieland, who works for or who's with Save the American River Association, is very dedicated to Sutter's Landing Park. And she has told me that if you report and report and report and report and report, and there's a log in the county system, she has found that once you create a couple months worth of logs, then some of the issues start to get taken care of, because they can't ignore it.
The problem is we're north of the river and she's south of the river. We would not get that kind of attention.
Well, we can always stand up and ask for, but I did have a question for Kelly about, and it kind of relates back to this, because I was wondering about the cost of those cool ass signs that you were showing us, and also if you have a group at Camp Pollock or with the Sac Valley Conservancy that's dedicated to grant research.
It's me and another staff member that works part-time, and she's on maternity leave right now, so it's me.
Oh, yes. So then, I mean, I guess my next question would be, in what way can the Garden and Arts Club help you? We'd like to pull together volunteers for you. We'd like to maybe outreach and get some of our people with expertise on the way that the different authorities interface with one another, the county, city, state, etc. Heather, talking about you, and just try to get our group linked in with you. So I have your website. I'll put that in the chat, but go ahead.
So we've wanted to have a Friends of Camp Pollock for many, many years and just haven't quite had the support. We have a very robust docent program of more than 71 docents this year, who lead guided outings at Deer Creek Hills Preserve, but they love Deer Creek Hills Preserve and they don't necessarily, some of them, most of them do not necessarily feel connected to Camp Pollock because it's not in their backyard. For all of you, if it is in your backyard and you feel a connection and you want Camp Pollock to be your park on your parkway, I would love to have supporters and volunteers and people who are not only seeking, finding grants and sending them my way, or, if we have people who are interested in helping. The sign set, we have a very simple form. It's like a sponsorship form, and we have ideas for all the signs that we want. We're working with a company that has basically all of the signs already laid out, and we basically just get to pick and choose and change out the plants and change out the butterflies, some of the minor details to make it appropriate for our region. But the signs go for, depending on their size, about they're on the very small side, it's $1,500 to about $3,000 per sign. We do have match funding from Wildlife Conservation Board. So I have a pool of about $8,000 to $10,000 that I can put towards the signs. And basically it'd be finding 1 or 2 sponsors per sign, Green Acres, some of the local businesses, to get them to sponsor signs, and Rayleigh's would be.
Hit up Taco Dave.
Oh, I don't know Taco Dave.
It's an inside joke, Kelly. I'll tell you later. No, but
No condos.
my internet connection's unstable. I'm really sorry, you guys.
I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, we would love all the help that we can get. Yes, and Heather, I agree. I see all the same faces all the time. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's a real opportunity. I think the challenge that we have here with the Garden and Art Club is that some of us are obsessed right now with the Garden and Art Center, which we have had. We have a real obstructionist that we're dealing with in terms of trying to get access and funding. We have funding, but we're not allowed to spend it. And the city has been unwilling to assign a staff person to the project. So we have our own kind of that to me is a real priority over Camp Pollock. But if we had more bandwidth, which I think we're growing. I mean, this particular club with Amy and Teresa and everyone else involved, if you had seen us 2 years ago compared to now, you would be very, very impressed. Amy and Teresa and all the other folks have really done, I think, a great job. And I think there's a lot of interest. We just, we have like the neighborhood association closest to you is really struggling, Northgate, with, a lot of disinvestment from the city, and trying to get them to, pay attention has been a real struggle. Yeah. And so there's other priorities in the community, but what I think this would offer, first of all, I do think it would be an incredible fundraising opportunity for you as someone who's tried to get access to the native plant stuff. There's 2 complaints I would have. First of all, the native plants sell out really quickly. I mean, everything I wanted was already gone by the time I got on, which was like the second day of the sale. Yeah. The other complaint I have about Elderberry Farms, as someone who is now disabled, I can't go there. Mm-hmm. I can't park there. I can't get access to their stuff. I can't be a volunteer there. It is a completely inaccessible site. And if there was something, as you're doing your walkways, I don't know if I assume you're meeting ADA.
Yep.
But they're amazing. And
fully compacted decomposed granite with
I can't do decomposed granite.
Oh,
unless it's really packed down. It's not packed down, my wheels will just spin.
Oh man.
So it's, I can be your ADA expert. I know what does.
There you go. I mean, we definitely need to interface, and you guys are, Kelly, doing a big day of giving a campaign as well. We got to let Kelly go because I can see that there's somebody really cute who wants her attention. But Kelly, your Giving Edge profile on the big day of giving will have the details of the Sac Valley Conservancy and the Camp Pollock project there?
Yes. Our page does talk about some of our priorities. It talks about our youth education program. It does not focus directly on Camp Pollock. But you know, we have this internal struggle because our organization protects open space and does conservation easements. And while Camp Pollock is absolutely open space and provides this location for us to communicate with the public, it is very different from all the other work that we do. And so we can't get too disconnected from that, which is why a Friends of Camp Pollock is critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That we should offer is to get her connected with Dennis so that we could get an article in N Magazine
oh,
about
definitely.
plans for Camp Pollock.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I'll take that on as an assignment.
Very good. Heather is very good at connecting people up that need to be connected. That's her specialty. She's very good at it. But Kelly, I wanted to ask, you said that the Camp Pollock is open to the public.
Open
during
sunrise to sunset every day of the week, no charge to park. You can go anytime. There are maybe 2 events a year that we close it down. One is typically an arborist event where they're training with like chainsaws and doing rigs, but otherwise every day of the week, sunrise to sunset.
On May the 8th, which is the second Saturday in May, we're planning on doing a second Saturday event for our debut art show in the evening. But every other Saturday, I host an open studio called Inspiration Station, and I do it over Zoom. And yes, Rosanna and I are faithful Inspiration Station attendees, but I've been talking it up to a lot of my friends about wanting to go out there and plein air paint. And so it would be Saturday the 8th from 11 to 1. And I have 6 or 7 watercolor paint kits and brushes and cold press paper. And I'm just going to be inviting people to come out and paint with me, if that's all right with you.
That is fine with me.
And I'll bring cookies and we can mask up if we need to. But I hear that if you're fully vaccinated, you can be outside with people who are fully vaccinated. So, and it's a beautiful space. There's peacocks and turkeys and red-shouldered kites or red-shouldered hawks. And I was out there with Nancy, and Nancy is a genius. She can bird by ear. And she identified 15 species of bird in about 5 minutes just by hearing them. It's a spectacular, it's enchanting, the
Very
place.
special place.
So
there's a birder that we've invited out to Camp Pollock in the past. He's an ornithologist with Cornell University, but his name's John C. Robinson, and he does a book called Birding for Everyone. But he also has an audio guide where they he puts words to it's great. And I think it's a free online resource. But anyways.
I would love if you could send me that. I would love to share that with our members because this is the kind of outreach that we'd like to do. So.